Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Season 3 Reloaded update and all the weapon tuning that was associated with that, as we know, ended up shifting the meta quite a bit, as we've talked about in some previous videos. One particular niche meta that was adjusted quite a bit was, of course, the rifles. We saw some very surprising changes in that specific category. So today we are going over the new top best meta rifles and the loadouts you want to be using for each one of them. As we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. So first up, let's start with the Cooper. This is still one of the easiest guns to use in the entire game, whether you're on PC or console. The recoil, super tolerable. It is a very simple pattern. The visual recoil is not bad, even on like 80 FOV. This is a very, very consistent rifle. It's not necessarily the best over long range. It's definitely a close to medium range based rifle. Pretty good for sniper support and whatnot, but it still gets the job done regardless. It's very consistent. First up here, we're going to end up going for the MX silencer. If you wanted a super close range build, you could always try out recoil booster, but for more consistency, MX is the way to go. Definitely going for the Cooper custom barrel here. Better control, better range, better fire rate. Just going to make it a lot more aggressive and a lot easier to use in those mid-range areas. Primarily, you could use whatever optic you're comfortable with here. I really like the 2.5 times. Other players like the 3 to 6. Whatever you think you're going to land the most shots with, use that optic. For the stock, I like the 45 RS. Initial firing recoil is better ADS as well. It's just super simple off the rip, and the consistent recoil while you're holding down the trigger, very easy as well. So I don't feel like you need something like padded necessarily, especially because we're going to use other things like hand stop, for instance. Also, the 60 round mags or the 60 round drums, which give you better control as well. Also a better fire rate. Gonna end up going for lengthens here alongside polymer. If you wanted a really aggressive build, again, you could probably go for something like fabric, but for just overall consistency, polymer is the way to go. Tight grip on here as well, and then lastly, fully loaded just to maximize that ammo. And like I said, this is one of the easiest guns to use in the entire game right now. Now, unfortunately, as we know, the AMAX, for no reason whatsoever, was absolutely obliterated in the Season 3 Reloaded update. They nerfed it into the ground. Now, what's the new best Modern Warfare rifle? The Ram, in my opinion. It's between this and the Grau, and the Grau has a slightly worse TTK. It's got better control, so, you know, take that for what it is. But to me, the Ram is going to be the next in line after the AMAX, and now the top of the top best of the best when it comes to Modern Warfare rifles. Setup here is pretty basic. Monolithic suppressor, going to go for the Ranger barrel, which is the largest in this case, best range, velocity, and control. Of course, we're using the VLK 3 times optic. Going to go ahead and throw on the T-pose reticle for that. We have to run the 50 round mags. This is one of the drawbacks of this gun, in my opinion. If it had 60 and had a larger damage per mag, it would be very, very solid, but you are running it a little close with 50 because the fire rate is a lot higher than some of the other rifles. Lastly, I go for commando to help out with that control. This is, again, a very consistent rifle. The control you do have to start to manage, but once you learn that, you're good to go. This thing will still fry. Now, really quickly, let's get the obvious ones out of the way. We do have 4 Cold War rifles that still absolutely maintain dominance in the rifle category. The Varga, which we'll use in as an example here, the XM4, the Farah, and the QBZ, all top meta rifles right now, and they all have the same exact loadout or class set up too. The 5 attachments are the exact same for every single one of them, as I'm sure you guys know at this point in time. So you can copy and paste this class setup to any of those 4 rifles that I just listed, or really any Cold War rifle in the game, if we're being honest, and it'll work just fine. So we're gonna go for Grew Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, the Spetsnaz or the Field Agent Grip, the 60 round mag now, especially with the 300 health on both maps, and then lastly, the 3 times optic on there as well. Very standard Cold War rifle setup, but it still works, especially if you're using it on these top meta rifles that I just, of course, listed. Another very obvious choice is what is currently the best gun in the entire game, which just so happens to be a rifle, the STG. I mean, it's got a great TTK, it's got a good damage per mag, it's got great recoil. There are no cons when it comes to the STG right now. It is without a doubt the most reliable, the most consistent, and the best gun in the game overall. The setup here, same one that we've been talking about for quite some time now. MX silencer first and foremost, giving us that better range, keeping us off the map. The 760 millimeter barrel, again, better range, better velocity, better control on there as well. I really like the 2.5 times optic on this. There's no recoil. It is an absolute laser beam. If you like 3 to 6, go for that. If you like the slate, go for that. totally comes down to preference. For the stock, I like precision. If you're a more aggressive player, you could also go for folding. Even the recoil is just that easy on this setup, but precision, nice and easy, gives you that better ADS. Also pretty much eliminates any horizontal control, or any horizontal recoil, I should say, that you might run into. Gonna go for hand stop here, also helps out with that control a little bit. The Granco 50 round mags, you're gonna land more shots with this mag versus any of these other options, and in turn, your realistic TTK is gonna be so much better than basically every other gun in the game. We're also going for lengthens and polymer here per usual. Perk 1, gonna end up going for nerves of steel. You get that better control while you're injured, which is anytime you're getting shot at, which obviously is happening a lot in a gunfight. And then lastly, we got fully loaded on there once more to maximize that ammo. Like I said, same setup that we've been talking about, but it is still the absolute best choice in the game. And then lastly, we got the bar. This saw several significant buffs with the Season 3 Reloaded update, and now it is actually a very easy weapon to use and also a very strong weapon to use. It's very dominant, has a great TTK. It is a little bit slower, a little bit more awkward in that sense versus some of these other options on the list, so that is something you'd have to get used to if you want to consistently use this. But when it comes down to it, for the actual stats, when it comes to damage output, TTK, damage per mag, everything like that, it's doing well. It's definitely up there with the best of the best. So MX silencer, I feel like, is always a great choice because you're staying off the radar. If you wanted to use recoil booster on this build, you absolutely could. Obviously the recoil is going to be a little bit worse, but the TTK will see some slight changes over range. I feel like MX is probably what most players are going to go for, though. 30 or the 27-inch barrel. 30 is probably going to be your best bet for the best control, best velocity, which obviously is very important in a gunfight. Again, whatever optic you're the most comfortable with, 2.5 times, 3 to 6, the 10 times telescopic if you're just an absolute beast. Whatever you are comfortable with, always run that. For the stock, we're going for the Chariot WR, better control, better flinch resistance, and whatnot. Also going to run hand stop here. For the mags, you can definitely try out the BMG rounds. I don't think there's a problem with running these. You're just going to notice it has a relatively slow fire rate and some visual recoil. There's some bounces in the shots that might be a little bit obnoxious at super long ranges. The more consistent and probably the higher picked magazine here is going to be the Clouser 40. You just got to keep in mind 40 rounds here with a faster fire rate is going to, end up running out in some situations a little bit faster. So it might, cause you to have to stop and reload in the middle of a fight. Could cost you your life in some cases. You just have to be mindful of your ammo count there because you will run out a little bit quicker. But it is a laser beam with these mags. It's super easy to use, and in turn you're probably going to land quite a few more shots. We're also going to end up going for lengthens here, polymer on here as well. Perk 1, definitely hard scope. The other ones are just not it for this kind of weapon. Better control during sustained ADS, though, is obviously huge. And then perk 2, going for fully loaded once more to maximize that ammo. Like I said, because of the significant buffs that this thing got with the Season 3 Reloaded update, it's now easily one of the top options, and honestly took one of the biggest leaps in terms of buffs or nerfs with Season 3 Reloaded, in my opinion. But that said, that is the current assault rifle meta here in Warzone, and that's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. It really does help grow the channel. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, each and every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.